Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sergeant Austin. Today I'll be giving a period of instruction and slash just a little bit of information on being an effective listener and a leader, and how being a leader cannot exist without being an effective listener. So before I begin, I would like to stress that a lot of people don't always understand what effective listening is. So before I even go into this, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Effective listening is the ability to understand what somebody is trying to get across to you. It doesn't always have to be verbal. Sometimes it can be the basic hand movements, like, that's scared, right? I mean, these are all different steps that as a leader, you need to be paying attention to not just your subordinates. And we'll get into that too here in a second. So bear with me, I'm going to actually be using my handy dandy white paper flipper here so that we can go through this course. So our first topic today, sorry the paper was probably going to be a little distracting there, is going to be needs and understanding your subordinates. So understanding your subordinates, a lot of people, especially leaders who have been in this role for a while, often are actually not that good at this. Common mistakes are they believe that by doing their job, basically, they've already given to their subordinate everything that they need, and therefore they're good to walk away. But every subordinate is an individual, and every subordinate as an individual needs to be listened to as such. An example here, going through your needs for a subordinate. I had a soldier who came to me a long time ago and was not able to get a legal problem taken care of. And so he had also been to 4 or 5 other sergeants who were not able to address the problem correctly, mainly because they were missing the one key bit of detail, and that was the ability of how this soldier conveyed his message, and they didn't know how to understand it. They weren't effectively listening to this soldier, and therefore he was taking some serious problems and was about to be administratively separated in wrongdoing, by the way, from the Army. So after carefully listening to the soldier and effectively understanding what he needed, we addressed that situation and we're able to move on. And not just that, but now this soldier is probably one of the best here in this company and is able to go out on missions. He's volunteered beyond what he probably should have before, and is probably going to be meritoriously promoted here pretty soon. And this is all of this could have been voided if somebody had just not sat down and effectively listened to what this soldier needed and just allowed him to carry on the way he was. This also comes from understanding. Sometimes we don't understand a body movement or an expression, and we're not listening to the underlying message that follows it. For example, if you have a soldier that shows up at first formation and you can tell he's got bags under his eyes, his hair is a little messed up, maybe his boot blousing isn't in the correct spot. The first thought that goes through your head, most of the time as a leader soldier, is, wow, this guy's really messed up. And most of the time he also gets punished for it. Have you ever thought and taken a step back and listened to his body language? Maybe thought, hey, there might have been something else going on. Maybe something from the night before has been rattling him, or maybe, he just got kicked out of his house, throwing an extreme out there. We'll go ahead and move on from that. Other leaders. It's so important to listen to other leaders around you. Other leaders around you influence your day-to-day. They influence the way that you interact with your command. They influence the way that you as a leader are going to progress. How might that be, you ask? Well, let's get into that a little bit. The good leaders. Good leaders are leaders that you can take things away from. They're usually ones that have set the precedence for the structure of the entire unit. For an example, we'll use this, where I watch a very strong leader step up in front of a group and actually reprimand somebody, but he did it in such a way that made other people around him notice what was going on. And not just that, but he did it in a way that actually helped the soldier uplift himself and become better at what he was doing instead of continuing down a bad path. In doing so, I took from that as an effective listener and sat back on the side and visualized myself in that same situation. Would I have done it that way? I can't always say I would have. The bad. There's bad leaders everywhere. I guarantee you everybody here seeing this now will be able to say, yes, I know a bad leader. Well, it's up to you to take that chance and sit down and kind of think about what makes that bad leader. But here's the other thing. I'm not going to tell you to not listen to them. In fact, I'm going to tell you to do the exact opposite. I want you to visualize that leader. Understand and effectively listen to the way that they held themselves, the way that they taught things, the way that they reprimanded or talked to other people around them. Now that you understand that, that was you effectively listening to what somebody else as a leader was doing. Now, you, as that effective listener, get to make the decision on your own leadership skills, on what you are and are not going to take. That is completely up to you. And it's important that you know and have effectively listened to between what makes that good and bad. How do you do that? You watch and listen to the way that people react to that leader around you, to your left and your right. How are other soldiers reacting to that leadership's mentality or their posture or the way that they conduct themselves on a day-to-day? Is it good? Is it bad? That's being an effective leader. It's not just listening to what is directly added to you. Sometimes what is directly added to the people to your left and right. Criticism. It is so important to listen to criticism. It is one of the things that a lot of people take for granted. When you are receiving criticism, sometimes it can come in a very formal way. In the military, we call them counselings. Or it can come in a very informal way. And we'll go over a little bit of both of that. But before we do that, let's talk about the difference between a good and a bad criticism. A good criticism allows you to hear what you've done well. It allows you to understand, hey, I've made a good improvement here. I made an impact that made a good impact on somebody else. Or I performed well. And somebody is telling you this. It's important to take those, listen to what is being said. Why was it good? And ask that question. Because that is what allows you to become a good leader afterwards. It just allows you to expand on it, build off of that. Now, bad criticism. A lot of people downplay this. They don't always understand it. Or, why am I receiving it? Nobody likes to be told what they've done wrong or bad. But it's so important to improve your leadership skills. You have to understand exactly what is going wrong to be able to correct it. And you have to effectively listen to what somebody is telling you has gone wrong so that you know every little detail of what made that incident unpleasant, not right, not correct. That way, the next time you do it, as a leader, you can expand off of that and build off of that and understand what you need to change to be that better leader. It's always important that when you receive criticism, try and get it from one of those leaders in the last page that you see as the good leader, somebody you know you can listen to and has made that positive impact on multiple people. So now that we've come to here, I would like to take the time and wrap this all together. Being an effective listener is listening to everything around you, being aware of what individuals need, being aware of what you need, and how to expand on both so that you and your subordinates can meet in the middle. It's being that leader that's going to stand up and be productive in helping those around them. And that's by understanding exactly what was being expressed. You can only do that by being an effective leader. So I hope by the end of this, you can now realize that being an effective leader is a crucial skill in being a positive leader. So with that being said, I wish you would do. Thank you for attending this class. If there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.